Robert Riggs says, I'm looking to get a great kilt to wear at SCA events. That's the Society for Creative Anachronism, by the way. It's a living history group, sort of. I feel a gray kilt will look the most period appropriate. That's correct. But I'm not sure what tartan to get. I feel something with a lot of bright colors would look too modern and therefore not period accurate. Any advice or suggestions? Also, any suggestions on accessories, please?
Okay.
So, what tartans are best for trying to do a
great kilt?
A great kilt. And I will be generous and say the SCA technically stops at 1600 AD. There are people who do English Civil War period, so they extend it to 1650. But he's kind of in the zone for when we know
great kilts
sort of existed. We're pretty sure. So
I would let's start with the fact that having a brighter colored tartan isn't historically inaccurate.
Right.
You know, it's actually probably more accurate to have a brighter colored tartan. Now, you may throw it around in the mud and get it dirty a bit, but it's not like all the weathered browns and things like that you see in like Outlander. They wouldn't have all been like drab, dreary, tartans. You would have had color. The oldest example of a piece of cloth, a piece of tartan cloth found in Scotland, dates 500 years ago, is the Glenafric tartan. Right. It is bright, freaking goldish kind of yellow and a reddish, a reasonably bold reddish brown kind of color. So that, as the main two colors that are in the design. So a brighter color tartan is historically accurate to that period.
Yeah.
Eric.
Yeah, basically, colors were not as color fast as they are with chemical dyes, but they had bright color. We've always had bright colors, and the often it was a sign of wealth. Brighter colors were often, a little more exciting, and therefore sometimes they called for ingredients that were not as readily available, so they were more of a well-to-do kind of a thing. We know that by the 18th century, red was particularly popular with people of means. That's a later period than you're talking about, but I think the logic applies that basically, you could go for something that feels like it's more vegetable dye. An ancient color palette tartan might make sense from that standpoint, but even sometimes with modern tartans that they're weaving and calling it ancient palette, they go too far in the direction of washed out looking. They did have brighter colors, so I wouldn't let that worry you too much. I would just avoid colors that we are pretty sure they didn't use, like purple.
And if you look at House of Edgar has their historical collection, and there's a lot of them there with colors you wouldn't necessarily expect, like the Royal Archers tartan and things like that. Mm-hmm. But there are some very bold, bold red. There's a bold red tartan in there.
Again, those are post the SCA period. They're
understood.
Later period,
understood.
But
these are the older examples of tartans that exist. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's bold colors exist, and it's nothing wrong with it. Mm-hmm. Cool.
All right, all you history nerds, reenactors, living history people, Scadians, and otherwise, tell me what you think about tartan in the historical context and what you think looks really good when you're going to do a demo or an event just for your own enjoyment. And by the way, as far as accessories are concerned, stick with a Rob Ray sporran and go with a belt that is really simple, not a modern kilt belt buckle. That's my best advice.